And I'm Abby.
And this is Coffee Conversation. So we are continuing our summer series where we are answering questions that you might have about faith and also just sharing with you some things that we didn't understand or myths or lies that we once believed and the truths that we've uncovered along our faith journey. But before we even get started, we would love it if you go ahead and click subscribe so that you can continue to follow along with us on this summer series.
Yeah, so grab your favorite drink and your favorite coffee mug and let's get started.
Yeah, if you're happy, I can't say that. So this week we are chatting about what we believe about the authority of Jesus. So Abby, why don't you go ahead and get us started and just share a little bit about maybe some things you didn't quite understand or get about the authority of Jesus.
Yeah, so I used to believe that I had to be perfect to come to Jesus, and that being good or perfect by any worldly standard was what would allow me to get into heaven or to have a relationship with God. But I realized that Jesus never asked me to be perfect. He asked me to come to him in my imperfect state, and that he was gonna accept me as I was. He says, come as you are, but he's not gonna leave me there. That I don't have to be good or perfect, I just have to come.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that is something, all of us on staff, and I know just people in our community has expressed, Jesus' authority, I think, that it makes us sometimes feel like we have to be perfect, but that is not it at all. That is a true lie of the world. He says, come as you are, and then I've got something even greater for you. And I think for me, used to kind of see Jesus' authority, I didn't really see it as loving, but instead I was kind of afraid of it. I used to pray in desperation that I was doing good and being right at night, I would just lose sleep over it, right? But the word authority, it kind of made me feel like I had to do good all of the time or I was going to get in trouble. And I think it was just hard for me to understand that Jesus was both my loving friend and my authoritative God. He is Lord, he is Savior, he is friend. And somewhere along the way, I began to understand that by God giving Jesus all authority on heaven and earth, he showed us even more how much he loved us and wanted us. Jesus, being fully man, gave him an understanding and an empathy to what we go through here on earth, which in turn makes his authority something that we can welcome and trust.
Yeah, and his authority can give us even greater confidence in living out the purpose that he's given for us, our God-given purpose.
Exactly. At the end of Matthew 28, Jesus tells us his disciples what to do. We call this section of scripture the Great Commission. But before he gives these orders, he reminds them and us that all authority in heaven and earth has been given to him. And this line helps us to be sure that the calling on our lives to make disciples all over the world is exactly what God is asking us to do.
Yeah, and because Jesus is our friend, because he's the one who died for us, because he's the one who calls us to the Great Commission, we're more apt to welcome his authority and live out our purpose in telling others about Jesus.
And remember, our purpose as believers is to tell others about Jesus. How we do that will look different, but that is what we are called to do. All right, we got the conversation started, but we really want to hear from you. What questions do you have about this topic, about the authority of Jesus? Does that word kind of make you cringe, or maybe you haven't had a good example of it in your life? We really would love to have your questions answered.
Yeah, so go ahead, you can comment below, or you can follow along with us on Instagram as we continue through this Coffee Conversation series this summer. And while you're at it, go ahead and subscribe to our blog at laneofroses.com/subscribe so that you can get daily devotions in your inbox and learn all about who Jesus is and what we believe about him.
Yeah, awesome. Great job. Ready?